So I was making the videos and I was getting sick and tired of editing out all the ums and ahs that I say and all the gaps in my voice. So I started using the pause and resume recording feature in OBS Studio, but then I started making mistakes where I thought I had pressed the unpause button to continue recording, but I didn't, so I lost a bunch of footage. And after about the second or third time doing that, I said, that's enough. Problem was, I was using a momentary switch as a toggle switch. So if I had a real toggle switch, I would always be able to say, oh, I'm recording. Let me flip this on. Oh, I'm not recording. I'll flip this off. So I happen to have this thing laying around, so I can just take those last two switches and say, one is for stop and start recording, and the other one is for pause and unpause recording. So this is really easy to make. It's just an Arduino Leonardo there with a bunch of jumper wires and light switches. There aren't any external components. There's no resistors or anything else. Literally just directly connecting the wires. The way it's wired up is each one of these switches has two terminals. One of the terminals on all of the switches is tied together, so they're all common. And then on the not common side, they're all routed to the Arduino. This terminal block is just a convenience for wiring. So basically all of the not common signals get routed through around the back here into the digital inputs of the Arduino. The USB goes out into my laptop, and I can set the on and off states of these switches to be whatever key presses I want. Alright, so here's the sketch. The main point of it is in this array of structs, struct switch descriptor. Now each one of these describes what sequence of key presses will happen when the switch is either on or off. For example, this one, this is pin 12. This switch is on pin 12 of the Arduino, and if I switch it on, it's going to do Control-Shift-R, and if I switch it off, it's going to do Control-Shift-T. So the pin numbers are the Arduino pin numbers, as in right here. So going from 1 to 12 there. The state is just a internal variable used by the code here. So we're using the keyboard library. Very nice. So we have 8 switches here. We're going to set all of them to be input pull-ups. That's why they're active low. So when the switch is open, the Arduino digital input is pulled high, and when the switch is closed, the Arduino digital input is pulled down to ground. So it's active low. So here we say switch on is active low. So in the loop, we're going to delay 100 milliseconds. This is a cheap debouncing technique. It's obviously not the best one, but it works for my purposes here. And then we're going to loop for all 8 of the switches and handle the switch. Handle switch takes a switch descriptor. It checks the current state of the switch, and if it's different from the last state, then we're going to press and release the key sequence. So either the switch has been switched on or switched off. If the switch has been switched on, we're going to press and release the key sequence for the switch on key sequence. And if the switch is off, we're going to press and release switch off key sequence. And then just for an indicator, toggle the LED. And this press and release key sequence simply goes through the key sequence and presses all of them, and then goes through the key sequence and releases all of them. The check for 0 is a simple way to check for the end of the sequence. Alright, now let's give it a load, and we can test it out here. If I go on this first switch, switch it on, I get an A, a B, an A, and all these other ones behave the same, except these last two, which are the ones that I want. Okay, so now I can go to OBS, which hopefully won't freak out. Okay, let's click on we go into settings here, move the settings out of here. Actually, let's try it this way. So I'll open up settings and then move it over here so you can see both. Now I'll go into hotkeys. Now I can say start recording, stop recording, pause I want to be down, unpause, up. Alright, yeah, I ended up changing it to add a 100 millisecond delay after the press and before the release. So it goes Control Alt F1, delay 100 milliseconds, then release Control Alt F1. I changed the keys here. One of them was Control Alt P, which got confused with printing stuff, so I changed that. Alright, now that that's all set, now if I flick the recording back on, we're already recording, but yeah, so now if I flick this off, it'll stop recording.